In this class, we are going to consider the following: cathode rays, nature and properties of cathode rays, applications of gas discharge tube, thermionic emission and liquid vapor, X-rays and its applications. So let's start with the first one, cathode rays. Before we go into the definition, I would like us to take a look at this video. This is a cathode ray tube. It has the negative terminal called the cathode, the positive terminal called the anode. At very low pressure and high potential difference, the cathode rays can produce, or the discharge tube can produce cathode rays. And you see that they travel in a straight line. Observe the color of the cathode rays. They travel towards the positive terminal of the tube, where you have the anode, and they travel in a straight line. They have the potential to rotate the pedal, so they have mass, velocity, they have momentum as well. They get attracted towards the positive terminal. They repel the negative terminal. They get attracted towards the north pole of a bar magnet. If the terminal of this magnet is reversed, it will repel. Let's go back to our discussion. So the first question now is, what are cathode rays? Cathode rays are electrons produced at the cathode of a discharge tube. They are electrons produced at the cathode of a discharge tube. List the nature and properties of cathode rays. So even without cramming or reading from the demonstration on that video, we should be able to list the nature and properties of cathode rays. Let's start from the first one. They travel in a straight line. They are negatively charged. They are fast-moving electrons. They cause glass or other materials such as zinc sulfide to glow or fluorescence with greenish color. They tend to be attracted towards the anode, which is the positive terminal. Still demonstrated on the diagram here. They are deflected by electric and magnetic field. They are attracted towards the north pole of a bar magnet and bends away from the south pole of the magnet. Still demonstrated on the diagram here, though we have watched that before. Can be ionized. That is to say that it can break gas into ions, can ionize gas. So cathode rays have the potential to make a gas to conduct electricity. They have momentum, mass, and energy. They produce intense heat on objects that stop them, meaning they are highly energetic particles. So cathode rays are highly energetic particles. Could be seen on the figure here. They can affect photographic plates. They can affect photographic plates. This other question says, what is a discharge tube? What is a discharge tube? A discharge tube is a tube containing charged electrodes and filled with a gas in which ionization is induced by an electric field. I take it again. Discharge tube is a tube containing charged electrodes and filled with a gas in which ionization is induced by an electric field. This other question says, explain any two applications of discharge tubes. Explain any two applications of discharge tubes. Let's take the first one, the fluorescent lamp and neon signs. This is an application. So one application of the cathode ray is in fluorescent tube used for lighting and display signs. They are used for lighting and display signs. These tubes contains mercury vapor or sodium vapor, which glow at low pressure at the passage of cathode ray. So the tube contains mercury vapor and sodium vapor. Please note it very effectively. The most used gas in the cathode ray is neon gas, which gives bright orange-red color. The color produced by discharge tubes depends on the nature of the gas in the tube and the nature of the coating inside the tube. So the color which is produced depends on the nature of the gas and the nature of the coating inside the tube. Let's look at the second application that we have here. The hot cathode, thermionic emission. In gas discharge tubes, cathode rays are produced from cold cathode. Another way of producing free electron is from a hot cathode. When a metal is heated to a very high temperature, electrons are emitted from the surface of the metal. This process is known as thermionic emission. So when metals are heated to a sufficient temperature, it begins to liberate electrons from that metal. That process is known as thermionic emission. A simple application of thermionic emission is the diode valve. That's why I had to underline thermionic emission. It is very essential. Also underline the application, the diode valve. The diode valve consists of the anode, hot filament, heater. If you don't call it hot filament, you call it the heater, made of tungsten wire, and cathode surrounding the filament. The diode valve is usually in the form of a cylinder. It is enclosed in a glass cylinder or a bulb. Let's look at the figure below for proper understanding. So you see this figure here represents the diode valve. And these are the labeling. List the similarities and differences of thermionic emission and liquid vapor. we've talked about thermionic emission, and then we want to compare and contrast the similarities and differences between thermionic emission and liquid vapor. So the first point for similarity is that heat is involved in both processes. So when we talk about thermionic emission, heat is involved, and when we also talk about liquid vapor, of course, vapor, when you heat water, it transforms to another state, which is the vapor state. Of course, both of them involve heat. So heat is involved in the process. The next point is that they both reach saturation point. So there is saturation point in thermionic emission, and there is saturation point when water is heated to vapor state. Particles are released. Particles are released. They both occur at the surface of the material. Thermionic emission occurs at the surface of the metal. Vapor occurs at the surface of the liquid, transforming into gaseous state. The rate of phenomenon increases with temperature. The rate of phenomenon increases with temperature. So an increase in temperature has a role to play in thermionic emission and liquid vapor. Differences. Vapor occurs from the liquid surfaces, while thermionic emission occurs from metallic surfaces. So that is one difference. The next point is that vapor may occur at definite temperature, which is the boiling point, while thermionic emission may not necessarily occur at a fixed temperature. Another point is that in vaporization, vapor of water molecules are released, while in thermionic emission, electrons are released. Let's look at this objective question. This one says, when a metal is heated to a high temperature, electrons are emitted from the surface. This process is known as A. Vaporization, B. Work function, C. Photoelectric effect, D. Thermionic emission. I would like you to answer that for yourself. Let's proceed. Please, you are watching Supreme Online Lectures. We operate both on YouTube and Facebook. I would like you to encourage us by following us on Facebook and also subscribing to our channel on YouTube. Thank you very much. I would really appreciate your effort. Let's continue. X-rays. What are X-rays? X-rays are forms of electromagnetic radiation that lie between gamma rays and the ultraviolet rays. So they are a form of electromagnetic radiation that lie between the gamma ray and the UV ray. So whenever we talk about the electromagnetic spectrum, we start from, assuming we are starting from the short wavelength, we consider gamma ray before X-ray, before UV ray, and then visible light, then infrared, microwave, and the radio wave. So if you're looking at the electromagnetic spectrum, you see that X-ray is in between the gamma ray and the UV ray. So we have that X-rays are forms of electromagnetic radiation that lie between gamma ray and X-ray. This region extends from 1 nanometer to 0.01 nanometer. The word nano here means 10 to the power -9. Okay, I think I can continue. They are produced when fast-moving electrons, which accelerate through a potential difference of 10 to the power 3 volts to 10 to the power 6 volts, strike a metallic target. One could ask, how are X-rays produced? X-rays are produced when fast-moving electrons, which accelerate through a potential difference of 10 to the power 3 to 10 to the power 6 volts, strike a metallic target. Okay, they were first produced in 1895 by William Röntgen. That explanation could be seen on the figure here. So this is a vacuum. Now see the filament voltage, and then the filament of the tube. You see the target here. In this case, this one is made of tungsten, being connected to the copper rod. The red arrow here signifies X-ray. The blue arrow here signifies electrons. So when X-ray is, or electrons are supplied from the filament, they travel towards the right, strike the target, and X-rays are produced. So this one is just a diagram for demonstration. This one is a picture. So if I read what we have below here, diagram of an X-ray tube. So this is an X-ray tube. Photograph of an X-ray tube. Electrons are emitted thermally from the heated cathode and are accelerated towards the anode. When they strike a target, as shown in the figure above, X-rays are produced. The energy of X-ray is given by the mathematical expression E equals to HF and equals to HC over lambda. So you see that the E represents energy, the H represents the Planck constant, F frequency, and frequency can as well be rewritten as C over lambda. So these are two expressions, but they mean the same thing. If we make lambda here the subject of the expression, then we will have equation 3 written below in terms of electron volts. So E change in V is the energy of electron after it has accelerated through a potential difference of change in V. E change in V is the energy of electron after it has accelerated through the potential difference change in V. Let's consider this other example or question. Which of the following electromagnetic radiation is produced by a method inverse to photoelectric effect? Which of the following electromagnetic radiation is produced by a method inverse to photoelectric effect? The reverse of photoelectric effect would give us X-ray. So the correct option would be option C. Option C. Let's continue. X-rays. X-ray emission is the inverse of photoelectric effect. I've already said that. X-ray emission is the inverse of photoelectric effect. So when electrons are made to hit or strike a target, a metallic target, photon is produced. In the same way, when photon strikes a metallic target, electrons are being liberated. So the reverse of the production of X-ray is photoelectric effect. In photoelectric emission, there is a transformation of energy of photon into kinetic energy of electrons. List the two types of X-rays. X-rays are subdivided into two types. There are two types of X-rays, the hard and soft X-ray. The hard and soft X-ray. The X-rays that are close to gamma ray will tend to have a higher penetrating power than those ones that are close to the UV ray. Remember, we started by saying that X-rays are in between the gamma ray and the ultraviolet ray. So those ones that stay close to the region of the gamma ray will tend to have a higher penetrating power than those that are close to the UV ray. There are two types of X-rays, the hard and the soft X-rays. Hard X-rays have very high penetrating ability and power. So when we say X-ray is hard, it means it has a higher penetrating ability and power and a shorter wavelength. So radiation with short wavelength has a higher penetrating power as well. So let me take it again. Hard X-rays have very high penetrating ability and short wavelength. Soft X-rays have a lower penetrating ability and longer wavelength. I take it again. Soft X-rays have a lower penetrating ability and longer wavelength. Characteristics of X-rays. 1. X-rays have short wavelength. They are electromagnetic waves of high frequency. They have a high penetrating power and can penetrate through solids such as the human flesh or flesh, paper, wood, aluminium foil, etc. They travel at the speed of light. So all members of the electromagnetic spectrum travel at the speed of light. They are diffracted by a magnetic and electric field. They tend to be diffracted by magnetic and electric field. They could be diffracted by crystals. So X-rays can be diffracted by crystals. They may cause fluorescence in zinc. They have the potential to ionize gas. They come from the surface of a metal. So they have the potentials to liberate electrons when they fall on a metal. This other question says, list at least 8 applications of X-rays. List at least 8 applications of X-ray. Where can X-ray be applied? Remember, they could be used at industries and in medicine as well. Even in agriculture, it can be applied. So let's look at the following. X-ray have several applications in medicine, industries, and agriculture. They include the following. Applications of X-ray include the following. X-rays have many practical applications used to visualize the interior parts of the human body that are opaque to ordinary light, such as broken bones, swallowed pins, defects in structural steel, bullets in human body. They disclose the position of the bones or metallic objects. So most of the times, if people have broken bones and they require treatment, they will first of all go to the hospital and they would be advised to go through the process of X-ray. From there, it would be understood the position of the bone and all of that. If somebody maybe is mistakenly shot by the bullet, the photograph of X-ray would first of all be taken to know the position of the bullet in the human body and all of that. So let's move to the next application. They can destroy cancer cells. They are used in airports to inspect objects for defects or detect metallic objects and contrabands in baggages. They are used to detect crack in industries and flaws in metallic structures and welded joints. They are used in the investigation of crystal structures. They are used to treat skin diseases and tumor. Even when we can use them to treat diseases and growth as well, but an excessive exposure to X-ray can as well be disastrous to the human body. So it is advisable that anybody who is working with this radiation should take proper precautions. X-rays can be used to kill germs in agriculture and in radiography. It can bring about biological changes in plants and animals and can be used for the production of new varieties. This other question says, list any 7 hazards of X-ray. Hazards of X-ray. Number 1, they can cause damage to living tissue. So while you are working with X-ray, you have to also protect yourself from the negative effects of X-rays. They can as well cause cancer. It can affect the human reproductive system. It can cause skin burn. It can as well lead to genetic mutations and hereditary consequences. When we talk about genetic mutation. It has to do with hereditary, genetically transmitted or transmittable form from parents to offspring. So if maybe by so doing the parent has contact or contracted a particular disease, X-ray can make that disease to be transmitted from the parent to the offspring, which is the children. They can cause leukemia, cancer of the white blood cell. Precautions. While working with X-rays, one needs to be knowledgeable to radiation exposure in laboratory and in industries, even medically. So regular checkup and wearing of laboratory coat is recommended. When you are at the lab working with X-ray, you have to be fully fitted. Go for regular checkup and also wear your laboratory coat as well. Let's look at this assignment. List and explain two processes involved in X-ray production. There are two processes. I would like you to go and study the processes involved in X-ray production. Thank you for watching Supreme Online Lectures. Please do us a favor by following us on Facebook and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have done that, I really appreciate you. Introduce us to a friend as well, and when you do that, I will be so happy. I will expect to see you in our next class. Have a wonderful day.